Hello, this is Angela Anderson, and today I'm going to show you how to do this mixed media painting of a bird's nest. We are going to start by painting the background of the nest with acrylic paints. We'll be using probably 2 or 3 colors. In the video I show you how to do it with several colors, but you don't have to get that detailed if you don't want to, since most of this is going to be covered up with book paper anyways. And then we're going to use patterned scrapbook papers for the eggs. So I hope you enjoy this project, and let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is cover a canvas with, I covered it with burnt umber, but you can use any color you want. You'll need a piece of chalk and a number 4 round brush and some various beiges and brown colors for your nest. When you're sketching your nest, the first thing you need to think about is that when birds build their nests, they have pieces that they kind of go in a circular shape. I'm going to do this one kind of an oval. I'm not going to necessarily use all of this, but this is just going to give me a general direction of where my boundaries of my nest are going to be. You don't have to very carefully paint over all of your lines. Just give yourself a little bit of an indication of the direction that you want to do your brush strokes in. So the outer edges of the nest are going to be going in a circular motion, and then the middle of the nest is actually kind of just a hodgepodge of lines kind of all interwoven to create a base. So those are more random in the middle, and then the outer edges are more carefully placed. So I'm going to start with this yellow, and we're using a number 4 round brush, and we'll do all of the whole painting with this brush. I'm going to add a little bit of water. Notice I'm pulling from the side of my puddle. I'm not trying to water down the entire thing. I just want to pull a little bit of paint out and water that down. Then I'm going to twist my brush through the paint to get it to come to a point, and I'm just going to, and I'm not going to go exactly over all of these lines, I'm just using them as a reference point. And I'm just very lightly touching the tip of the brush and quickly pulling it in the direction that I want it to go. I wouldn't try to very carefully draw out each branch, because it'll look more natural, and just find it looks better if you do it quickly. So and you can kind of wiggle them too if you want some kind of wiggly lines in there. And then in the middle here, you're going to very carefully with just the tip of my brush just do a few little strokes in different directions. Okay. And I'm doing smaller strokes and thicker strokes. The harder you push down on the brush, the thicker your line is going to be. And the lighter that you go, the thinner it will be. Okay? So just do a variety of thick and thin lines. And once you get a few in like that, kind of a good base, then you can switch colors. Just clean out your brush. Pick another color. Look at this. So I'm going to do the same thing with this, and in fact I think I'm going to speed it up, and I'm just going to use a variety of each one of these colors in turn and fill in the nest. Okay, so I'm going to speed it up at this point and come back and talk to you in a minute. Okay, so at this point, if I wanted to do this mixed media project, this is all I would have to do. In fact, I probably could have done it with just maybe 2 colors. And I used a book, an old book that already had its pages browning, and we just cut them up into little pieces, maybe 1 line deep, one line of book paper deep. Does that make sense? And so I'm taking my pieces that I have that I've cut out of this book paper, and if you don't have book paper that's brown, what you can do is use a piece of copy paper that you've printed off on your printer, and then just tint your Mod Podge with a little bit of brown paint, and it will tint in fact, this is what I did on this piece here in the background. If you can see up here, it's not as tinted, but it was just regular white copy paper that I printed out this poem on, and then I tinted the Mod Podge with brown paint to give it that darkened effect. So if you don't have the dark book paper, don't worry about it. Just tint your Mod Podge with paint. And I'm going to place my book pieces in the same general direction that we painted. So I'm going to angle them. See, like this one's kind of pointing to the center. I would kind of angle it up. And they can cross over some, but you sort of want to follow the general direction of your nest that you've painted there. And in the center, again, you would just take a few of these pieces. I don't have as many cut out as you'd probably need to do this whole thing, but just wanted to give you an idea of how I did it. But in the center, I would just crisscross a few pieces. And really, you want to leave a little bit of the background showing, so don't get over, don't do too many pieces of book paper. You want some of what you've painted to show through. And if you look here, I really don't have a whole lot of pieces. If you look at it, there's quite a bit of this background showing. Okay, so to glue down your book paper pieces, you're going to put down a nice thick coat of Mod Podge or acrylic gel medium, or whatever you have on hand. That there's several different products that can work for. Look for something that says collage. But once you put down a nice thick layer on the bottom, then put down your paper, and then gently cover over the entire top of it with another coat of the medium. And that'll make sure that it's adhered well. I'm going to put another little piece right in here. So I'm just covering that area. I'm going to put it up this way so you can read the script. And then cover over the whole thing with another coat. Whoop. Okay, and I've also put in feathers on this project. They glue right down. I just used the little teeny feathers that had a little patterning, and you do them the same way. You just put down a nice thick coat of Mod Podge or gel medium, and then stick them down, and then put a nice thick coat on top again. If you use Mod Podge for this project, Mod Podge will go on white. It looks white when you put it on at first, and then it will dry clear. So don't worry about it if you're getting it on there and you can't see through it. That's normal. It will dry clear. So, and actually using like a gloss medium or some sort of self-leveling gel or gloss gel, those will go on a little bit clearer, so it may be a little bit easier. They're a lot more expensive than Mod Podge, so it just depends on your budget how you want to do it. But if you're doing it for yourself, I would recommend going for the better quality mediums, just because they're easier to work with a little bit. They're not opaque when they go on. Then what I would do once I got my book paper down, I took like 3 pieces of scrapbook paper, and I just sketched and then they were just kind of patterned scrapbook paper. You can use plain blue paper if you don't have the patterned scrapbook paper, but I drew the basic nest shape on the back of them and cut out my eggs. And with the kids, you can have them just draw one egg out, and then they can use it as a pattern to draw on the back of these other pieces and cut out each of their eggs that way. That way they don't have to draw 3 separate eggs. And then once I get these, what I did was, you can use either colored pencils. They won't have as much of a smudged look as this. If you use a colored pencil, you would just go along the edge and maybe lightly kind of go along the edge, kind of darker, heavier with your coloring, and then as you get toward the middle you could do a little bit less and give it a little bit of a gradation of color. Then this is a pastel pencil, and if you used a pastel pencil you can just color heavily along the edge, and it's got enough pigment in it that when you use your finger it will smudge a little bit and blend toward the center. So, and I did this all the way around my eggs, all of my eggs, and that way when I layered them, you could see the difference. You could see them laying against each other, and they had a little bit of three-dimensionality. So that gives you an idea. So I didn't touch the center part. I just try to keep the dark, and I used a brown. You can use a dark blue if you want. I find that brown looks good against the blue. But then I would just, like if I was going to stick it in here, I could just put the Mod Podge down, stick the egg down, put more Mod Podge on top. And then to finish it, we splattered it with paint, with our toothbrush. And we just flicked paint on it to give it a splattered look. Okay, so that's that piece. That was really fun. It's super easy to do it with the paper because the only thing you had to paint was this part.